time for the main event. It's the Shoeshine.
¿Qué onda? What's going on, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave from the 408 coming to you all the way from San Jose, Califas. Shout out to the San Francisco 49ers, the Niner faithful. My own co-host had no faith in them, that's for sure. Let me say what's up to my co-host all the way from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia's Drew Evo, ¿qué pasa? Has the wild card weekend gotten to you yet?
I picked the Niners to beat the Cowboys, man.
Did I miss
faith in the Cowboys.
Did I miss that or what?
I said on that podcast, I picked the Cowboys to lose.
I do stand corrected, man, but I got because that tweet you put out earlier in the year saying we were the worst in the NFC West, I still can't get over it.
Because Russell Wilson, I thought, you laid a freaking egg.
You know what? The Niners and Russell Wilson, they got a bad history, but even more so historically is the rivalry between the 49ers and the Dallas Cowboys, which a lot of people who've grown up maybe in the 2000s, millennials are not going to remember this, or definitely Gen Z won't know, but San Francisco and the Cowboys have this long playoff history in the 90s, and the catch, Dwight Clark's famous The Catch was brought upon on a playoff game like that. And Drew, did you know that statistically the winner of the 49ers and the Cowboys has gone on to the Super Bowl, which, like, if you're into statistics, man, I'm very excited about that. But again, we've got a lot of work still ahead of us. The 49ers know that. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, we're going to go play them there. Do you want to say anything about the Eagles, man? Because it was a great year for you guys getting into the wild card anyhow. I mean, that was quite an accomplishment anyhow.
I just, I talked to a couple of Eagles podcasters. I just said it was horrible game planning on both sides of the ball. You're not going to win a game where they're playing single high safety and give you all this pressure to put 9 in the box to stop your one game, and you're going to keep doing screen passes when you don't take your freaking shots. And they did the same shit on the defensive coordinator called the same shit on in the first game against the Buccaneers. So tell you the truth, kind of deserve it. We're not trading for Jimmy G. We're going to keep Jalen Hurts, and we're going to move forward with Jalen Hurts.
Well, the 49ers definitely have high hopes for their rookie in waiting, but a lot of people thought this would be Jimmy G's last game. I've got friends that absolutely hate the 49ers, and they couldn't wait to see Jimmy G lose. He's not ready to say goodbye to the 49ers, so we're going to go for this run. Cheers to everybody. I'm drinking tonight an 805 cerveza. I don't know if I can get that in focus in the shot, but I've been, to be honest, Drew, December wasn't a good month, and neither has the beginning of January. I mentioned it on the show that, like a lot of other people, I had that COVID situation, and it actually infected our family. My wife's grandpa, miraculously, thank you for anyone that sent some prayers, 95 years old, 96 years old, and beat COVID, which is awesome news, right? But it still affected other members of our family. But listen, COVID strikes again because Joe Smith Jr. was supposed to fight Caleb Johnson, a very decent opponent, and had to take on this late replacement in Steve Jafrar that we saw on ESPN this weekend, the first televised free fight. And it was kind of to be honest, man, to me, the whole card just kind of stank, man. It was kind of a disappointing start to the new year. Thank God for playoff football. But there's a Bay Area guys. We're talking about 49ers and Bay Area guys. Vic Pasillas, a PBC Mexican-American fighter originally from East Los Angeles, who is now based here in the Bay Area. He's supposed to fight on this triple header card on Showtime this Saturday. And the breaking news on Boxing Scene was he was going to be either the co-feature or the very first fight on the triple header, and he's been pulled out for COVID. So we send Vic Pasillas. Hopefully he recovers very quickly and he gets himself on another PBC Showtime card. I used to think he was a really hot prospect at 122. He moved up to 126 to take on someone at the last minute and suffered a pretty big major loss, his first loss. But that's the way it goes, man. I'm definitely looking forward to this weekend's card. The return of Gary Russell Jr., the guy that fights once a year, but is still the WBC featherweight champion. we got that to look forward to. But let's break down this Joe Smith Jr., Steve Jaffar, the last late-minute replacement coming in for a dream, the dream of a lifetime, to come in and fight on short notice. Steve Cunningham is his trainer. Steve Cunningham said, man, he's been in there as sparring partners for Beterbiev, and I think another big brush. He's been in there as a sparring partner to some top guys, Drew, and he thought maybe if he could weather the Joe Smith storm early on, that he had a chance in the second part of the fight. But before we get to that, Drew, did you catch this guy, Abraham Nova, a featherweight contender from Puerto Rico with the gold goatee? Because he's actually a lot of fun to watch, and he brings his own mascot. This guy literally has his own
I saw him.
All right, give me your thoughts on the very colorful Abraham Nova of Puerto Rico, man. Give me your thoughts on him if you can, on what we saw there.
He's a guy that, he punches a lot. He throws a lot of punches. He's a pressure fighter and everything. He's flamboyant and everything. Like, I could see him fighting Navarrete possibly next if the fight, gets made, because he fought on top rank. Navarrete, he's on top rank. Why not make the fight on top? Why not make the fight next? Probably be a good opponent and everything, entertaining fight. But he looked impressive. He got the knockout victory.
He did. He did get the impressive knockout victory. Right here, we got Nando Lamas. Nando Lamas says, good for him. Self-promotion is the best. Shout out to D-Style Boxing and Calix Boxing, who just put on a great show. And make sure you catch all the great programming this week on HCP tomorrow night. Al Chile coming up. Of course, the ladies on Wednesday and the round table on Thursday. Do not miss all that exciting content. Thank you, guys. All right, so we're talking about Abraham Nova. Let me see if we get flagged for this or not, but I'll go ahead and play a short clip of his work.
Encarnacion gets clipped with a nice right hand from Abraham Nova. The leg.
So, Drew, I think the most important thing is this man's confidence, because he's calling out El Vaquero Navarrete. He's calling him out. He wants to fight him ASAP. He made big noise at the end of this fight. He let him know, put him on blast, that if you want to fight and you say you're going to beat the best, you got to fight me. So we know that Puerto Rico and Mexico have a long history of rivalry, and I think this is a great fight. I think anytime you put up a top-notch Puerto Rican star and a Mexican star, it's going to be fireworks, man. But is he ready? Is Abraham Nova? I mean, this is like the first co-main that I've seen him in. Is this guy ready to fight Navarrete?
Tell you the truth, like, there's not really a lot of fighters you can put Navarrete against right now. So he might have to be ready. If he wants that payday, if he gets offered a payday, you think he's gonna turn out a nice payday? Hell no, he's gonna take the fight.
Right, and that at 126, of course, we have Gary Russell, but we haven't seen too many things work out recently other than the fight I went to between Bud Crawford and PBC's Sean Porter. That fight would be a dream fight to see. A lot of people would love to see that. Of course, Gary Russell Jr. has held his title since 2015 at featherweight division, and Navarrete just recently conquered the featherweight division. But this is an in-house fight that I would not mind seeing. And I think that he made a good case for himself this weekend. All eyes were on him as the first free fight, being on the co-main. But that puts us back to Joe Smith Jr., Drew, because in the month of December, we saw all the light heavyweights that we need to see, because Canelo Alvarez, it seems everybody wants him to target being the unifying someday, doing what he just did at 168 pounds. So every top guy that holds a title at 175 could potentially be on Canelo's hit list. That lottery that most of these fighters dream of. And we have to kind of rank them, because we've seen Dimitri Bivol, who has a win over Joe Smith Jr. Joe Smith Jr.'s one of his losses comes from the heels of Dimitri Bivol. We saw him in action. A lot of people said it was boring. And we saw Beterbiev in an absolute bloodbath of a match in the month of December. And now we get Joe Smith Jr. We thought we were going to see him against Callum Johnson. All of these three fights are fresh in my mind, Drew. And I'm asking people, but Should these guys be concerned? Does Canelo Alvarez, who's the weakest looking guy at light heavyweight? If you were Eddie Reynoso, if you were Canelo's matchmaker, which one of these guys would you target first?
Well, the thing is, you got Eddie Reynoso claiming Sergey Kovalev was the best light heavyweight when they fought him. I don't know what the hell Reynoso was thinking. Just say, Reynoso, you took the weakest champion at the time. You took the guy that came off almost getting stopped by Anthony Yard, not even 2 months off fighting him, and you fought him and you knocked him out. You took an easy title win and everything. Lost up Kovalev. But end of the day, the weakest champion, because there's only 3 champions, but if you count the WBA super champ, regular champion, John Pascal, you could count him as, he'll be the weakest champion, but the real champions, the 3 of them, I would believe the easiest fight would be Joe Smith.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you there because, it wasn't too long ago that he was a full-time union guy and he still owned his business, a tree cutting business. And, we usually think of guys that box part-time as club fighters, but he's gone against all odds and beat even Philadelphia's legendary Bernard Hopkins. That's got to be the greatest win on the resume of Joe Smith Jr. But I will agree that if I was targeting one of these light heavyweights, I would absolutely go for Joe Smith Jr. And I think, let me see here. There's a graphic here, but Joe Smith Jr. coming out of his own mouth. Hey, if Canelo wants to come to 175 and fight me, I'm ready for him. Even though there was some controversy a couple of weeks ago because it seemed like his words were he minced his own words, saying that he's chasing his own legacy so that he's not entirely concerned about the payday that the Canelo fight brings because he really wants to pursue his own legacy. So, I mean, to me, it sounds like mixed messages. You just saw in that graphic words come out of him. Then at the same time, he's talking about his own legacy, and he's not tripping off the millions and millions of dollars that the Canelo Alvarez fight might bring him. I absolutely would go for this, man. Let me say hello to some people in the room. Thanks a lot for joining the Shoeshine. Long live boxing. Saludos. Nando Lamas is here. Always appreciate seeing Nando Lamas in here. D Styles, Chicano Prophet of Al Chile. Thank you for joining the room. JC, what's up, man? Appreciate everyone here. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up. Run PMC, my man, I think also part of Al Chile. Also, guys, the phone line is open if you guys want to call in on 702-710-3627. Boxing MMA is in the house. What's up, Boxing MMA? And, of course, also, the UFC. It's interesting if we find out what the ratings were for this ESPN card because the UFC also debuted their first fight of the year. Saturday, they went head-to-head on ESPN. So, not the best start for the month of January with Joe Smith. But what do you make of Steve Jaffard, man? Because the guy came in with the high guard, and my wife even pointed out, coming into the ring, the guy looked like he was shitting his pants a bit. You know what I'm saying? He looked extremely nervous to be on the big stage.
Yeah, I thought he was nervous as hell. Like going out there like this, man. Come on now.
Right, the high guard.
Like you're just looking for I think he just went in there looking for the payday, in my opinion, and it probably wasn't that big of a payday, but he just went in there looking for the payday and everything. Because if you really was trying to win that fight, you wouldn't have walked out of your corner with that high guard. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the high guard there was obviously for defensive reasons, but he started to look like a sparring partner or a punching bag eventually. And what I like about Joe Smith Jr., man, I'm not going to take anything away from Joe Smith Jr. It don't matter who it is. He'll break you down. But he's got those long arms, but he boxes so well even on the inside. And he puts bunches and bunches. Not the most elite hand speed, but he'll break you down, man. He was banging up the dude's arms, banging up the shoulders, banging up the biceps, the elbows, man. And he just broke this guy down who was, unfortunately, even though they said Steve Jaffard had a decent amateur career, he was not ready for this title opportunity at all. And it did just give the impression, like you said, Drew, that he was just there simply for a payday. Simply there for the payday. Wish the guy the best. Thank God he wasn't hurt. Seriously, man. Really, thank God he wasn't seriously hurt. So, Drew, There's some stuff going around, and I wanted to bring this up to you because the Canelo Alvarez stuff, and then you've got, everyone knows about Mike Coppinger over at ESPN, formerly of The Athletic, breaking stories, and even on the roundtable, HCP's roundtable this past Thursday, they had
little prick. They
had Montero on boxing, who is a writer for Ring Magazine, talk about a little bit about, the background of Coppinger. And most boxing fans that follow Mike Coppinger on social media do it for, according to him, breaking news. And we've been getting some really bad accuracy on behalf of Mike Coppinger, who said just last week they're reporting on a Charlo fight coming to fruition. And everybody's like, oh, finally, he's not going to fight this cruiserweight, right? He's not going to fight the cruiserweight, but everyone got excited about Charlo, and that shit's last week's news because Eddie Reynoso came out to correct the situation again and said, listen, when I'm ready to make the announcement, it'll be sometime this week. I think they even alluded to the 17th, which is today, and I'm waiting to hear about it. But according to Salvador, I forget his last name, of ESPN Sports, he says, that his sources have indicated, and he's not ready to say what it is yet, because obviously maybe he doesn't want to upset Eddie Reynoso's camp. But it's according to what he's saying, boxing purists will not be happy with Canelo's Cinco de Mayo pick. Shit. I mean, last week it was Charlo. It came right out of their mouths that he was going to fight, the cruiserweight. He asked the WBC permission for that. That cruiserweight's going to be fighting at the end of January. And all of a sudden they're saying, boxing purists will not be happy with the Canelo pick. Drew, I did a little more investigation into that. And the Mexican boxing media, if you go to some of these Spanish sites and translate them, they're going crazy with possible picks, man. And some of them include UFC fighters, that it could be a UFC fighter. Mexican media have even predicted it could be Conor McGregor, who just suffered a horrific ankle break, would not be. And of course, Jake Paul is on the list on the Mexican media. As speculation, purely speculation. Sonteo Media, what's up? Salvador Rodriguez. Yes, that is him. And Sonteo, thank you for posting all that stuff. My mother has been glued to this gossip with Chavez Jr. and his arrest this weekend. If you have any information on that and you want to call in, would greatly appreciate that. Or if you want to call in and let me know about Bam Rodriguez, who I believe will be the co-main now on February the 5th, Drew. It's right around the corner. We know that February 5th is the pay-per-view between Thurman and Barrios, but DAZN had planned on putting Jesse Vargas versus, I believe, Liam Smith in Las Vegas at the Cosmopolitan. Jesse Vargas has COVID, and now we've got promoted is going to be an awesome fight, which is the rematch of Sorung Siva. I can't get this Thai guy's name right. Sorunga Savai versus Quadras. So that was a spectacular first fight between this Thai fighter and the Mexican fighter. That's been elevated. I think Bam Rodriguez, which is a fighter of Robert Garcia, I think he'll be on the co-main is what it looks like, and it's going to be moved to Phoenix. So if you guys want to call in and let me know about that, that'd be great. Nando Lamas, it can't be a UFC fighter without Daddy Dana's permission. Drew, I've been speculating that Dana White's objection to having his fighters fight Jake Paul, that shit's real. He hates Jake Paul. But we don't know the working relationship he had or the relationship he has with someone who can promote himself like Canelo Alvarez, man. He has his own promotional company. If there was a UFC fighter, is there one you'd like to see him against? None
of them. If he decides to fight a UFC fighter, these Canelo fanboys are just going to keep on saying, well, he deserves a little warm-up and everything, man. But really, a UFC fighter, guys, you don't consider a warm-up? Like, seriously. He fights a UFC guy, I'm going to go on Twitter and say, fuck Canelo Alvarez. And I'm going to tag him in it, too. And I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're this cash cow, supposedly a boxing, shouldn't be making fights like this. The only cherry pick that I will allow Canelo to do I would be cool with is Jake Paul, because you knock him the fuck out of boxing.
That guy you're okay with, but not any of these UFC fighters, even that heavyweight Ngannou.
Nah, man, you gotta fuck. Like, really, man?
Well, Joe Lopez agrees with you and says, I will criticize Canelo if he fights a non-boxer, but again, it's all speculation. He could end up fighting a boxer, but I don't know why Salvador from ESPN is reporting that boxing purists are not going to be happy with this one. I'm just gonna wait and hope to hear something this week more concrete out of Reynoso's camp about what the hell does that mean. Here's my only thing with fighting a UFC fighter, and I'm not going to knock it that much, Drew, because Canelo Alvarez, when he started his promotional company, it was reported that he had already talked to the Raiders Stadium, the Allegiant Stadium, about being the first boxer to have his fight there, right? We know he sold out that stadium in Texas, a tremendous gate, 70,000, like a record-breaking gate. He did that last year, but he's yet to do a gate that large in Las Vegas. And really, Canelo Alvarez's base, to me, even though Texas is a hot market, Las Vegas is still the fight capital of the world. All right? And it's something to do with Dana White, the UFC, whose headquarters are right there, and Canelo Alvarez, who's yet to hold his own card. It could be epic, bro. It really could be an event that we have never seen if the UFC puts in the right guy, and I'm talking about what they would be their light heavyweight champion or their heavyweight champion Ngannou, who swears he can box. He's talking about fighting Tyson Fury. I mean, I think it would be a financial success. Again, what it says right there, boxing purists will not be happy with the Canelo pick. Who knows what that is, man? We've seen a lot of circus shenanigans in 2021. So we'll just leave that shit as speculation fodder and hot gossip.
It's like this. I'm a fan. I'm a Tyson Fury fan. When he said on Twitter, "How about me versus Nagano?" I said, "I don't want to see that fucking shit. I want to see you fight a fucking I want to see you fight a heavyweight boxer or a top 5 heavyweight boxer. I want to see you fight maybe Dillian Whyte or somebody. I want to see you fight no fucking UFC guy who's never been a fucking boxing ring." And Paul, I was tough on Triple G too for fighting bums, because I said the only guys. That's 2 guys he fought with fucking Canelo and Danny Jacobs. And he lost to Danny Jacobs, and he beat Canelo twice. So what the fuck is that comment for, man? At the end of the day.
Yeah. So, Drew.
Like.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Now, I just don't. Here's the thing, man. And this is another thing that pisses me off. When you got someone like Eddie Hearn, and we all know he's on Canelo's jock and everything, and he's supposedly the best promoter in the game right now, right? So, why are you really taking Canelo, which is not even signed to you, over your fighter's side? Like, seriously, you went on and said, "Oh, Lord, when Brutus, he's not signed to you, Eddie, but you went to his defense." A couple of weeks ago, a week before this Makabu fight came to play, he caught out Canelo. We all know he caught out Canelo. Canelo didn't respond to it. Instead, he said, I want to fight Makabu. And then Eddie Hearn said, "Oh, I love that fight. But then when Brutus wanted to fight Jake Paul and everything so he can knock him out of boxing, you're like, oh, why are you going to do that for? Fight Lawrence Spicoli and everything. So you didn't want to brag that Brutus Canelo fight would be a good fight, but you wanted to try to call him out to fight Lawrence Spicoli and everything. And then when your own guy Demetrius Andre's trying to get a fight with somebody, you can't make a fucking fight. You can't even make a fight with someone that's on your own stable, Triple G, with them. So at the end of the day, man, I think, Eddie Hearn, man, he's just a two-faced dick rider, in my opinion.
Oh, man, let's move on from that. Drew, it is Martin Luther King Day. I'm blessed to be enjoying this holiday in tribute to Martin Luther King. And, boxing, like, we can't get away from this racism talk, And the internet kind of exploded last week with a couple of things, couple of big stories. Okay. The big first major story is, I just saw Terrence Crawford fight Sean Porter. And that's this lawsuit. Terrence Crawford is going to be suing Bob Arum. And initially, what was being reported was that the grounds for it were that Bob Arum is a racist. And then the second big story in boxing was Paulie Malignaggi appearing on the 3 knockdown rule with Mario Lopez, actor turned boxing commentator, former homie of Oscar De La Hoya. Mario Lopez, Saved by the Bells podcast with Steve Kim, who's also been a target of people calling him a racist. Well, I was wondering, like, even myself, I'm like, where can I read this court document, right? About Terrence Crawford suing him. Steve Kim, who writes for Snack Nutrition, penned an article. And Steve Kim's also being accused of being a racist. Of course, Paulie Malignaggi is no stranger to controversial topics and going off on politics and his viewpoints on racial issues. And to be honest, I didn't hear anything absolutely horrible. Like, I'm not easily offended. I've met Paulie numerous times, interviewed him and whatnot. I'm not going to defend what he says. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But for a moment, I thought, damn, Mario Lopez is going to get canceled. So they pulled the show from internet. He's in no jeopardy of losing all the things. Like, if I go to a hotel and stay at the hotel next month, I'm sure I'm going to turn on the damn TV and Mario Lopez is going to be telling me what movie to watch. Like, his career, he hasn't gotten canceled. So I doubt he's going to get canceled. Steve Kim goes on to pen this great article about what the merits of the lawsuit are. All right. It ain't going to be based on racism. That's just kind of a character attack on Bob at the beginning of this 23-page complaint that he's filed. But the term, and I know some of you guys that are into this, is force majeure. All right. It alleges that in 2018, when he re-signed this contract, that he was supposed to fight twice per year. For a minimum of $3.5 million per fight. That was Terrence's guarantee, $3.5 million at the very minimum. And we know that when he fought Aegis Kalavakis or whatnot, he only fought once over COVID. So there you have at least $3.5 million. And it also alleges that he was promised that he would get this fight with Errol Spence. And if not, he would be paid an additional sum of money, somewhere like $800,000, $900,000. And you add that up, and he seems to be he's going to try to make the case that he's owed for that one missing fight, as well as the money that he was promised. Now, we don't know where this money was ever promised in contract or whatnot, but he was supposed to be paid an additional $800,000 or $900,000 if Bob Arum could not secure the fight with Errol Spence. So I don't think he's going to be like, at first the internet went crazy. Oh shit, he's suing Bob Arum over Bob Arum being a racist. And he has a history of not supporting his black fighters, but it ain't really going to be based on that at all. So if you guys have any comments on that hot topic, 702-710-3627. Drew, when you first heard that, did you think he was going to win a shitload of money against Bob Arum for accusing him of being a racist?
Tell you the truth, you got to be more detailed than just being he's a racist and everything. Like, tell you the truth, I think he could probably put in the lawsuit that, hey, it kind of cost me a lot of money for not banking these fights and then saying the negative shit. He's actually was my promoter, but he's actually bashing me. So actually, you're ruining my business at the same time. Like you're messing up me making money. So you're not really doing your job. So I to his contract, if it's a promoter's contract to a boxer, this contract states I have to promote you to the best of my ability. I have to make sure you get the biggest fights. I have to make sure you get the best paydays possible. And I have to make sure I said the right things. Now, Bob Arum has said a couple messed up things about Terrence Crawford. He violated that promoter boxer right. You should talk about your own guy that's underneath your stable that you're promoting, because really you're not helping promoting the fighter any better than you are now. He should have been able to nail a Pacquiao fight, at least, and he was unable to. He should have been able to do it when he was with top-ranked Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, he should have.
He was unable to do it. So that's an issue right there. That's a main issue right there. Terence Crawford could have at least got $10 million for that fight with Manny Pacquiao when he was with Top Rank.
And that was in-house. That was absolutely in-house. It's actually a travesty to the sport of boxing that fight was never made, because both of those guys were arguably still in the prime of their careers. You know, Manny Pacquiao having a very long peak, very long stretch of being in his prime. And it's to me, it's a travesty that fight was never made. You're right about that, for sure, Drew. Sonteo Media says Bud has the same lawyer that Mikey Garcia had. So that's very interesting. We know that Mikey Garcia was fairly successful, probably against his contract issues. And he also says Mikey did not sign a non-disclosure agreement. He's free as a bird to sing. Damn. Boxing MMA says, I saw a video where Bob said he killed the Manny fight, that he killed the fight. So, you know, those are all regrettable things to the boxing fans, people, purists and whatnot. I would have loved to see that. I do want to share this with you, Drew. I just saw that Josh Taylor today was calling out, you know, actually saying very kind things about Bud Crawford, saying he's a once in a lifetime generational top pound for pound fighter. And it looks like Josh Taylor really wants this fight. So what's the chances of securing a fight with Josh Taylor? Maybe Bud Crawford has no interest in it. It's a fantastic fight. He is undisputed 140-pound champion. Terence Crawford was undisputed, but then he has to sit down at the table with Bob. Bob's like, I can make that fight happen. You know, I can make that fight happen for you. Can't give you a Spence.
He wants to make that fight. Of course he wants to make that fight happen. That's all he was thinking about. He didn't want to make a Spence fight happen. He wanted to make a Taylor fight happen. It does nothing for Bud's legacy to fight Taylor, man, because he would just move up. His legacy now is that I'll fight a champion at 147 or move the hell up. Like, seriously, this is a joke.
Not looking good. From everything you see from the PBC side, it's not looking good. Not looking good. Boxing MMA 365 seems to agree with you. He says, I don't see the upside for a Taylor fight. It's not a fight a lot of boxing fans are asking to see. For the legacy of Josh Taylor, for Josh Taylor, it's a great fight. For the UK fans, it's a great fight. You know, it could definitely be a big fight in the UK. I'm not hating on it. But I see the likelihood of that happening, having to work with Bob Arum while you're trying to sue him simultaneously. Man, that's slim to none, man. Slim.
He's probably going to win it too. He's probably going to win his lawsuit too. I hope he does, because it actually puts pressure on promoters to do a better job with their fighters. Because the only way that he possibly re-sign with you is you promise him a big fight. But you promise him a big fight with Spence or somebody. And he failed to do that. It's like Triple G when they sold off him all this money. Oh, we'll give you a third fight with Canelo. What happened? They didn't deliver. So it's just like that BS, man. It's a lot of BS. That I just want to sign, and then after that, more BS. So these promoters, I hope Bud wins, because it's gonna put these promoters on notice. Yo, you guys gotta do a better job making fights, man. You gotta do a better job taking care of your fighters, man. Like, seriously, like, this is a dangerous sport and everything, and you need to make as much money as you can, because there's no union, there's no health care. If you don't take care of yourself and your fighters, man, your fighters are gonna wind up fighting at an old age and wind up getting hurt even more.
Mm-hmm. G Funky says, if Bud goes with TMT, can he get the Spence or Ugas fight? Man, it was first of all, shout out to G Funky. And by the way, I saw the sonogram picture on Twitter. Congratulations, brother. I'm excited for you. I would say, man, you know, there's a guy, speaking of TMT and fighters, Xavier Martinez is a really, really hot prospect contender coming out of Sacramento, California. And he just recently left TMT. and he's going to be, I believe he signed with Top Rank, and we're going to be seeing Xavier Martinez make the big move, I believe, over with speaking of the devil, Bob Arum and Top Rank, if I'm correct. And he's coming up with a big fight at the end of this month or in February. Man, that is a tough call, Drew. I don't know if Terrence Crawford should be, I don't know if anyone should be working with Floyd Mayweather right now from what we're seeing.
I think Bud should just go to business for himself.
Start his own promotional company, the route of Canelo Alvarez, and he's earned it.
Like, if you're gonna join somebody, man, you might maybe get Lou DiBella to promote you, man, and everything. Because tell you the truth, man, these top guys, man, they're a piece of work anymore. Like, it's all bullshit at the end of the day. Like, the answer to that one question, no, he's not gonna get a Spencer Ugas fight signing with Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. That's not gonna happen. The way Floyd Mayweather is promoting people, man, you're lucky if you sign Tank up to fight a cab driver for a good payday.
Well, I don't mean to be all doom and gloom on the Shoeshine. We're starting off January, and I appreciate everyone who's hanging out with us late on a Monday night. There is some really, really good news in the sport of boxing, because we're talking about fights that can't be made or haven't been made, or people don't have any desire. But two fights that are on the horizon for the month of April, Drew, and these are really, really, really fantastic fights. And it's right here. This one of them is breaking today, and the other one you've probably all heard about. The one that's breaking today, Nonito Donaire, who just had an impressive win. He's just a year away from being 40 years old. Looks likely to be fighting the monster Inoue in their rematch in the month of April, targeted for Japan. That's surprising. Why is Japan surprising? Because they're still in lockdown. And the likelihood of them actually, like, I don't know how long is Japan going to be on lockdown for, man. A lot of these countries, like, and I'm also talking about Australia. Like, I'm all for protecting your borders, but this shit is like, if you can't make these dream fights happen, then somebody needs to buck up and say, we'll fight you in the U.S. We'll fight in New York City. We'll fight in Vegas. We'll fight in Texas. We'll just get these fights made. But hey, Nonito Donaire and Inoue are in negotiations for the month of April in Japan for the rematch. To me, it was a fight of the year candidate. Nonito Donaire nearly knocked out Inoue himself. Man, the fact that Inoue says, bring it on, this fight is going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to this. Nonito Donaire on the verge of almost being 40 years old, as is Triple G, and there's no date scheduled for the Triple G Murata unification matchup, Drew. I know how you feel about that shit. I'm probably going to guess you wish one of those two suckers would fight Boo Boo Andrade already.
At least fight another champion, for Christ's sake. We know Charlo ain't going to fight because he has the excuses angle. He brought the Leonard Ellaby idiot's guy to excuses and everything. So, like, really, I don't know. I'm really... I think Nonito Donaire is going to beat Inoue.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic way to wrap up. Really, an amazing career for a Filipino American fighter that seemed to be, for the most part of his career, kind of like in the backdrop to Manny Pacquiao's career. Man, that would be an epic, historic win for Nonito Donaire, one that I'll be rooting for him. But again, I mean, the monster is in the peak of his career, peak of his prime. He's overcome everything. I'm not going to drop a prediction for that. I'm waiting for this fight to actually get signed in ink. I'm excited for it. And another fight that I do want to bring up, because this one is a Bob Arum thing. But real quick, Boxing MMA 365 says Kambosos is smoking crack, thinking Australia will allow him to fight there in May. All the past week, man, it's like nobody gives a shit really about professional tennis and international tennis. I don't care about tennis, but this guy Djokovic, who's very open about his anti-vaccination beliefs, and he's also an elite world tennis star. He got caught up in this international drama because he refused to come into the country vaccinated. He came to the country, he lied, he misled the papers. He's being shipped out of there and wasn't allowed to play. This is what everyone who might fight Kambosos is going to have to deal with, whether it's Devin Haney. Devin Haney's accusing Kambosos of ducking him this week. But Bob Arum's leaking out that, man, that your boy, a lot of people like Lomachenko, that's looking like it's going to be negotiated. That it's looking pretty damn good. And I'm not going to hate on that, man. It wasn't too long ago Lomachenko was the pound for pound guy and the 135-pound kingmaker.
I'm not going to hate on it because Kambosos got some real balls and everything. But I just, I think Lomachenko is a more dangerous opponent than Haney. But, Haney's always going to say somebody's ducking him the higher his revenue, higher his name and everything. But to tell you the truth, I would have took the Haney fight. Haney has a chin that's suspect, and his defense is not that good. And his defense isn't that good, guys. He's very beatable, Haney. So, come on. I don't Kambosos is ducking Haney. Tell you the truth.
The Go Mario P says Kambosos. There's a lot of people that are filling that narrative on social media. Haney has a great claim to fight Kambosos. Again, it's going to be up to their managers and promotional companies. Either of those fight are going to be stellar, man. Lomachenko absolutely brings more of an international appeal.
Yeah.
To go to Australia and do it. But either of these guys, according to Kambosos, they got to come to his turf. And with all these COVID bullshit going on still and restrictions internationally, who knows if that's going to happen? Do you want to sit out? Does Kambosos want to sit like he did last year, waiting for months and months to actually fight Teofimo? Does he want to do that again in 2022, man, when he's just got the momentum in his corner? I would fight sooner than later, even if it's a stay busy fight.
I'm going to address I'm going to have to address something real quick.
Chicano Prophet, thank you. Yeah, smash the likes, guys.
Here's my question for you, Goat. Are you a regular guy on Twitter? You constantly check tweets and everything, man? Well, Devin Haney, this was in the month of October, November, I believe, caught out Lomachenko. Lomachenko replied, send me the contract, and we'll see if you're really up for it. After that, Haney didn't reply to that at all. So how is that ducking Haney? Come on, Goat. You think everybody's ducking Devin Haney, man? Devin Haney is a very beatable fighter, and I even give Tank a good shot to beat Devin Haney. I'm ACP. What the fuck you talking about? Yippee!
No, Drew. He's a regular on the HCP.
I know.
But of course, we're all entitled to our opinions, and the GOAT,
entitled.
You're entitled to your opinion as well, and the GOAT can debate you if he'd like. He can call in the channel, and I appreciate everyone for being here, and everyone is absolutely entitled. There was a time, Drew, I will agree with you that I didn't think anybody was going to hurt Gervonta Tank Davis. I didn't give Cruz any chance. I think I was on the round table on HCP that week and did not give Cruz and on our own show a chance. And man, I was blown away by his work ethic in the ring. And Haney's looked spectacular, and he's also looked flawed and beatable as of recent. You know what I'm saying? He's a very special boxer. His boxing skills are elite, but at the same time, that right opponent is going to come along where the matchmakers get it wrong. And it could be somebody like Cruz, or a Mexican-type pressure fighter who has a granite chin, which Cruz has a granite chin, can apply the pressure and deal with his hand speed. There's a guy out there. It's going to happen at some point. You know what I mean? Stylistically, maybe Lomachenko's not the one to do it. Maybe Kambosos has enough pop to defeat Haney. He definitely showed enough pop. I mean, I was impressed when he dropped Teofimo Lopez in that opening round. There's someone out there. There's someone out there.
I think Lomachenko destroys Devin Haney. Devin Haney is really bad on defense now. He let Jojo Diaz in on him, and Diaz hold him a little bit. He has this suspect chin. His defense is horrible, and Lomachenko has made pure boxers look bad. Ask Gary Russell Jr. Are we the fastest hands in boxing?
We're going to see Gary Russell Jr. back in the ring.
He had nothing on Lomachenko. Lomachenko almost knocked him out. Enough of Lomachenko. I think, I'll tell you this right now. I think, because I moved my camera for a second, if Gary Russell would have fought Devin Haney at 122, maybe when Haney fought, Gary Russell probably could have beat Devin Haney.
Chicano Prophet and you are not, shout out to Chicano Prophet from Chile, are not always on the same page. But he says Loma beats everyone at 135. It's just his division. I'm going to guess you were saying it's just his division now. Man, I really didn't want to get into the lightweights tonight because it was not really one of my topics. But one thing that is on my mind right now is the other fight up here that I just want to talk. And you're talking about not power punchers, boxers, pure boxers, bro. And I'm talking Shakur Stevenson has shown and elevated his game. He just beat Jamel Herring. This is a fight that I really didn't think I didn't think they'd make this fight, man. But it's going to happen. You kind of seemed that Bob Arum was alluding that he wanted to see this fight materialize. And it looks like Oscar Valdez is no bitch. He ain't no punk. He's willing to take this fight with Shakur Stevenson April 30th. This could be fight of the year contender. Shakur Stevenson looks dominating as a boxer. And Oscar Valdez, when he had that whole steroid scandal, and it wasn't a steroid scandal. Let's be very clear because we covered it so much on ACP. It was a banned substance issue, right? Against the Brazilian fighter Conceição. We saw that fight, guys, and he did not look that brilliant against Conceição. All right? With all the drama and all that shit, maybe it was playing in his head. Maybe he was on that banned substance, cycling on or off of it. But he did not look like the guy who wiped out. And it's credit to you and G-Funk, you predicted he would wipe out Miguel Berchelt. That was shocking. This fight is unbelievable. I'm very excited. Oscar Valdez, Shakur Stevenson could be fight of the year contender here April 30th. Boxing MMA says, I think Shakur is a better version of Robson, and Valdez looked bad against Robson. Robson Conceição. Drew, you think, you predicted that Oscar Valdez would beat Miguel Berchelt as the G-Funky, and you guys were the only people in our circle that predicted that. Man, the guy, Shakur Stevenson, just looks like he's peaking barely. Is this a winnable fight for Oscar Valdez? Does he pull off another historic win?
I don't know yet. I got to really look at it. I'm just glad Shakur actually is fighting another guy, another real fighter, after fighting a real fighter before. I'm glad Shakur's stepping up still and keep trying to step up to the plate now, because there's no excuses. He should be fighting. He should be fighting the competition he was fighting anymore. It's time to fight the best of the best now. Like, you had 14 or 15 fights already. It's time to move up. Time to take the real fights on. It's time to build a legacy for yourself. And this could be a great legacy fight for him, because it's Valdez.
It's a unification too.
Yeah, it's a unification too. And I'm gonna be honest, I really could see Shakur Stevenson beating Oscar Valdez. I can really see it if he does not get caught in a counter, because he's a good counter puncher, Oscar Valdez. He gets caught with it, it could change the fight. But I really think Shakur Stevenson, his hand speed, boxing is going to be probably a little too much for Valdez. Okay. But I might change it. But right now, I'm favoring Shakur Stevenson.
All right, our boy Sontel Media says Luis Correa dropped Robson Conceição. Almost had him out, but Rob was the TR fighter, and so he got the decision. I read that really great article that you wrote on the fighter Luis Correa out of Robert Garcia's gym. And somebody that we also interviewed, that we had the pleasure of interviewing, Drew, was Adam Blue Nose Lopez from Southern California, who I saw fight Oscar Valdez on literally days' notice. He was supposed to be on that card and took the replacement. He took the opportunity to fight Oscar Valdez as his first fight at 130 pounds. He was coming up from 126, and he floored Oscar Valdez. shocked everybody at the Cosmopolitan Las Vegas that night when he dropped Oscar Valdez. And I know some of you feel that Shakur Stevenson is kind of feather-fisted, something that Devin Haney is accused of. These are two spectacular fighters, by the way. It's two spectacular boxers, in my opinion. Does he develop his man strength eventually, guys? In the chat, let me know, man. Is Shakur Stevenson going to develop that man strength, and will he become even more dangerous? Because, Drew, you don't seem to think he has the power, but I don't know if you need that much power to hurt Oscar Valdez after we saw Adam Blue Nose Lopez, a French contender, put him down. And also, he just mentioned, our friend Sonteo Media, that Louis Correa, he dropped that guy Robson Consenchao, and Oscar Valdez wasn't able to drop him or put him on the floor. It's a very, very interesting fight stylistically. One that, if they're smart about it, you know what I'm saying? Like Shakur Stevenson doesn't play up the fact much that he's half Puerto Rican. But he's going to have to be 100% Puerto Rican because that will only help sell this fight to the fans. Mexico versus Puerto Rico. It seems Shakur only is conveniently Puerto Rican when he needs to be. But he is half Puerto Rican, man. So let me know, guys, what you guys think about these two hot fights for the month of April. A lot of our dream fights aren't happening, but this one, Valdez versus Stevenson, we just kind of bashed a little bit on Bob Arum. It's a great fight. I'm very happy about this unification. Donaire versus Inoue, one for legacy. Nonito Donaire doesn't have to fight the guy again. He wants to avenge that fight at 39 years old, going on 40. There's only great things I can say about Nonito Donaire. All right. Little Petty says, should the 49ers get rid of Jimmy G? If you ask my friend Johnny Savage, he'll only tell you to get rid of Jimmy G. But then again, he's a fan of the Jaguars. So what does that guy know, right? That could have been Jimmy G's last game, and we'll see. We'll see how far he goes in this playoff run. I'm excited. We'll see, right? If he takes us to the Super Bowl, how do you not sign the guy for at least another year extension or multiple year extension?
Here's another question to that. If you sign the guy, what are you going to do with Trey Lance? You drafted him number 5 overall.
All right, I got a response. I was asking the chat about if Shakur is going to grow to this man strength. Shakur is filling out body-wise. Will he become more powerful? I'm not sure, but time will tell. So why it's important to me, Drew, is because I think he's a big kid. Even when he was featherweight, I'm like, there's no way he's staying at featherweight. This is a guy who could transcend like other career fighters like Manny Pacquiao and Floyd if he brings up some of that power up. And I have no doubt in my mind that we will see Shakur Stevenson at as high as possibly a 140-pound division someday toward the tail end of his career. 135 is next. We could see him at 140 pounds by the time he's 30 years old. And hopefully he'll fill out. We'll see. I used to criticize the guy for being extremely boring. But the way he dismantled Jamel Herring was a very impressive win for 2021. All right. So on those two dream fights, Drew, you got anything else you want to add to those fights? It looks like they're going to happen. I'm calling them dream fights. Great fights.
Yeah, potential great fights. We'll see if we still got a long way to go. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Speaking on that, yeah, February 5th. We were just talking about February 5th early on. The Thurman Barrios card is loaded. Everyone's telling me about some of the great fighters. I haven't reached out yet to, we had talked to, who did we, Jesus Ramos Jr. Yeah, we had talked to Jesus Ramos Jr., whose uncle, I don't know, it's only in Mexican families. Can your uncle be 5 years older than you? But his uncle Abel Ramos is fighting on the undercard, and he's fighting Sonteo Media's boy, Josecito Lopez, who always brings it. That's going to be a great fight. As well as the premier, if you guys haven't seen his son's fight, but Francisco Vargas, legendary Chicano fighter that fought Oscar De La Hoya. His 3 sons are now professional fighters, and 2 of his sons will be making their debut. I'm not sure if they've officially signed the PBC, but it sure looks like it. They'll be on the fight. Be his son Francisco Jr. and I believe Amado will be fighting on that undercard. So they're stacking that card for PBC on February 5th. So if anybody gets sick with COVID, man, there's going to be a lot of fighters on that. Sonteo Media says Fernando, for his two sons, got the big jump. You know, they had their first few fights in Mexico. Drew, you hear a lot about building up fighters' resumes, man, but you know, like there's been a lot of attack on, of course, Jake Paul, obviously, because he's fighting MMA fighters and former, athletes in basketball and whatnot and shit like that. But, you know, they still build fighters like that. You know, a lot of guys will go elite amateur and take fights that are in little known towns in Mexico or Cancun or TJ. And you're not going to see those fights unless you're like looking for them on Facebook Live. And his sons are no different. I think both of his sons are 5-0. One of his sons fought on, what was that, NBC fights that they had recently. But that was about as big as it got. So excited about that. But Nando Lama says the main event is for PBC. Pay-per-view is just a glorified walkout bout. I ain't down for paying for this fight. Let me just make that very clear. I'm not down for paying to see Thurman versus Barrios, man. Especially Barrios coming off a loss to Gervonta Tank Davis. Not excited about that. All right. Anyways, like I said, the DAZN card on February 5th has been moved to Phoenix, and it looks like the Thai fight versus Quadras will be elevated to the main event, and it might have Bam Bam Rodriguez, who is also a Robert Garcia fighter. Looks like he's under Golden Boy as well. So, Sonteo, can you tell me what's going to happen if Bam Rodriguez, who a lot of people have eyes for, he's a rising superstar, Bam Rodriguez, if he's with Robert Garcia and Robert Garcia's got to be at the MGM Grand, I'm sorry, not the MGM Grand, but Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, what is going to happen? Because last year there was some drama when they had to split because Bam Bam Rodriguez was fighting here, and I think Virgil Ortiz was fighting there. And we all know how that shit panned out. Virgil Ortiz is no longer with Robert Garcia. Drop me a comment and let me know. Let's read some comments here. PBC is recycling their Mexican chabrones, says Nando Lamas. Oh, man, that's funny. All right, Drew. Gary Russell Jr. makes, this is our time for our prediction. Speaking of Filipinos, we talked extensively about Nonito Donaire, but his opponent Max Sayo from Manila, Philippines, is promoted by, I believe, he works with Freddie Roach and promoted by Manny Pacquiao himself, man. He came off a come-from-behind victory where he was hurt badly. I think he was even dropped in August. Let me see, the date was, he fought Julio Ceja August 21st in Las Vegas. Dropped and then comes back, rallies back to knock out Julio Ceja. And here he gets a dream matchup, man. And Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao, and everyone around that circle says he's ready to fight the guy who fights once a year, possibly one of the fastest fighters in all of boxing, Gary Russell Jr., this is shocking, bro. He's 33. He's going to be 33. Did this guy waste all his prime money-making years?
Yep, he did.
Once a year? Like, is he satisfied with the amount of cash? Yeah, let's put this in perspective, guys. It turns out, I'm reading about Terrence Bud Crawford's lawsuit. And it says he made somewhere in the vicinity of $30 to $35 million over the course of 10 years with Bob Arum. All right, that's nothing to scoff at. But Jake Paul made $40 million fighting in 2021. The entire 10 years that Bud Crawford has had with Bob Arum, he did not make more money than Jake Paul did in 2021 in the sport of boxing. So how the fuck can you be satisfied, Gary Russell Jr., be satisfied, whatever pennies he's paid, never had a pay-per-view in his life? How could he be satisfied fighting once a year? I don't know. We'll see this Sunday if he's still one of the fastest boxers defending his WBC featherweight title since 2015, going on 7 years holding on to that belt. Do you give the Filipino any chance, Drew?
I give him a little bit of a chance. I think guy wants to win by decision. I think it's probably going to be a boring fight. I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to watch it.
No, it's on Showtime, so you don't have. You should be able to watch that Gary Russell fight this weekend.
Yeah,
Showtime
but I'm I'm probably not gonna watch it either, man. Like, tell you the truth, I'm probably still gonna watch football. Probably watch the Sixers play.
I hear you, man. Definitely catch that shit on the replay, man.
I probably will. I'll
good.
like to replay.
Good, because we got to talk about it.
Because I'm not gonna waste my time watching it live and everything. I'll watch the replay and everything.
Because, it makes me wonder if you watched the Joe Smith Jr. fight live or if you watched the replay.
I watched that fight on my phone. I'll be honest with you, man. I was bored as shit.
Yeah.
I was lobbying to just turn it off and everything. I was like, might as well watch it. Something might happen. You never know. And what happened when after I was thinking that, dude gets knocked out.
It's the way it goes, man. It's been surprisingly a slow start to the month of January. But, you know, I'm looking back when we launched the Shoeshine, and I thank everyone. If you haven't subscribed to the Shoeshine, but you've watched us, and just double check that you're subscribed, I could really use the help. It helps. Drop a comment on the show. Let us know how we can make the show better. And if you feel so inclined, give us a phone call on the next time you watch the Shoeshine Monday nights. Drew, last year in January, I remember starting the show. We had an episode of Raw Boxing, and we were talking about Ryan Garcia. And that was like the biggest fight of the beginning of January. And so far, we haven't had anything like that yet in the month of January. And we're almost towards the end of January. And after that January fight with Ryan Garcia, shit just kind of mellowed out for quite a while until we hit, spring, summer, where it got a little bit better. Turned out we had a decent summer of boxing and a great end to 2021. So anyways, guys, I'm Dave from the 408, the Shoeshine, my co-host Drew Evo. Always a pleasure to be here on Monday nights with you guys, part of the HCP network. Don't forget tomorrow, Al Chile. We have Al Chile, and we have D-Styles coming on Tuesday nights with our homegirl Nancy. Wednesdays in the ring with Christine, and Thursday, the roundtable, where they get all the top YouTube commentators to come in and talk about the sweet science. So Day Media, I wanted to he responded to me. If I was Robert, I would ask Eddie to put Bam on the card early like most, and then hop on a plane on a private jet, 45 minutes from Phoenix to Las Vegas, and tell Al to put Josecito Lopez on ice in an emergency. Chicano Prophet says fun show, and of course I always enjoy his shows. Thank you so much, man. All right, guys, I just want to say a quick shout out to everyone who supports us. Thank you. Shout out to the Niner faithful. Jimmy G lives another day with a bad thumb and all. Lives to see another playoff game. We'll see how that goes. Drew, your thoughts on boxing so far 2022?
Dave, how long have we been doing this for? Like 3 years?
We've been doing this for at least 3. It could be going on 4 years. And you bring up a good point. I want to get some of our old episodes and throw a little highlight clip of the shit our new supporters probably missed out on. Some of them weren't so great. But we've been doing this for a minute.
How when I first started doing this shit, I was on Periscope by myself, just talking about shit and everything, and then we met up, start doing this on Periscope and everything, and I'm slowly was learning about the communities that are in boxing and everything. So, I think and I'm this is recently, guys. We need to keep our shows just boxing. Keep it just boxing. Leave the beef out of it. I have my own beefs and everything, and I dealt with my own beefs and everything. I know there's people in our community that don't like me, and tell you the truth, I honestly don't give a fuck if you don't like me, but you all gonna respect me at the end of the fucking day. But, I look at it like this. If you want to put drama into your shows, make yourself a drama show, man. But if you want to spread knowledge and everything about boxing or deliver boxing news and everything, then if you want to be about boxing, then keep the show just boxing. Because putting that drama shit, everybody's gonna expect drama every time they come to your show and everything. And I just think this whole community needs to be better at the end of the day. because, like I said, I dealt with my beefs. I'm a real dude at the end of the day. I don't care what anybody says about me, because the first thing that they're going to come at me is how the way I talk. That's the only, I tell people, that's your only animation. Other than that, you don't know, you can't do shit to me. Because I laugh when people come at me like that, because you got no animation, no more animation to come at me. So at the end of the day, we all got to do better. Leave the drama out. You want to spread drama, you want to spread hate and everything. It's not for you, man. It's like, just make a drama show up, man. You want to talk boxing? Just talk boxing. Because people really value your knowledge at the end of the day.
I hear that, man. With that being said, I'm going to wrap up the show. But some Theo Media says, Drew, can we at least talk about Chavez Jr. taking Canelo's side piece? Or does that cross the line into drama? I need to read up on that. Send me that, because you know what? Like, I know my mom was sending me all kind of stories on Chavez Jr. and I'm like, what is she sending? What the fuck is going on? Like, let's keep it boxing.
Send me a picture of Canelo's side piece, and I'll let you know. I might even take Canelo's side piece also.
All right, man. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back next week after Calix Boxing and D-Styles on their Punchers show on the HCP network. Thank you guys so much, man. Have a blessed week. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.